I told myself I wasn't going to record any videos until one, that I edited my entire backlog, and two, after I finished actually like setting up my new apartment. But there's things happening in the Love and Deepspace fandom that I kind of want to talk about that isn't in a 10-minute TikTok video. So here we are. I hastily threw together my microphone, not even on its stand. I haven't even corrected the white balance, so I look very much more pale than usual because I haven't even figured out this yet. So we're winging it right now. So if you're unfamiliar, Valko was going to be the sixth love interest in Love and Deepspace. We have 5 love interests. Now we were going to have 6. Now he's gone. He's canceled. Not in the way that we have cancel culture. Infold was like, hey, yeah, no, we're taking him back. Like, no take backsies. We're just gonna have the 5 love interests from now on. I will put something here to show the announcement, because normally I have a stream deck where I can actually push a button and show my screen. But like, I haven't even set that up yet. I just have so many words about this and so many thoughts about everything. And I just am floored. I'm flabbergasted. I read that message this morning and I stun locked. I felt like a Pokemon used Stun Spore on me and I was stunned. My jaw literally dropped. I was like, what? What do you mean this is happening? This feels unheard of to me. To preface, Love and Deepspace is my very first gacha game. I started playing almost a year ago. So I never played a gacha game beyond Lads. I've never played any other Infold's games before, so I'm not sure if this is like something the company has done prior to, or if this is something that other gacha games have done. I have no idea. So I'm coming in with this at like, I just played other games and other live service games like Dead by Daylight and Overwatch, and like I've never seen a game do this before. Now, there is some speculation as to why they are canceling Valko's release. A lot of it coming down to the Chinese player base, because it's a Chinese game, it's made by a Chinese company. There's a lot of speculation as to the things that they were doing in China. I've heard that they reported Infold to the CCP, so the Chinese Communist Party. They made major news outlets in China because of all of this, because they're adding a 6th love interest. Not to play devil's advocate, but I do see some rationale there of why should we add a 6th love interest when Caleb and Silas still don't have the amount of content that the OG3 of Xavier, Raphael, and Zane have at this point. That I can understand and that I can get behind. Where I start to kind of fall off on the anti-6th love interest train is when people start getting phobic about him or about anything within the game necessarily. I've heard that some of the Chinese players, I'm not going to generalize and say all of them because it is not all of them, but some of the players were calling Valko to be too feminine. And that might have been like during his teaser trailer, not after the live stream we had a few days ago, where they actually showed him being not as feminine, I would say personally. But they were also saying, allegedly, and not all of them, were saying that he was too tan. Which, there's a lot of implications there of like, what is too tan? And what does that imply about people who are saying that? And yes, it is a Chinese game. These are Chinese characters. Like, it is, the Lincoln City is based off Shanghai. You want to keep it somewhat, related to the country, the region, the culture that you're basing the game in, but also at the same time, like, there's some stuff going on there that I don't feel like I am equipped to unpack all of that, especially when I don't have sources to cite. And I feel like there is going to be other content creators who are going to be a lot better equipped to thoroughly and properly dive into why that is a bit problematic. I just know it's problematic, but I'm not equipped in this moment in time to fully dive into that. I do think in fairness, the way they went about this is a bit odd. I've been thinking this in my noggin for a hot minute, and I think hot minute as of 2R yesterday's debut in December, January, when we knew we were getting another main story update, that the next main story update, so the one we were allegedly going to get that we're not getting because we aren't getting we were going to get a main story update, I digress, was going to be Caleb/sixth love interest focus if we were going to get a sixth love interest. And why do I think that? Because they're doing things in pairs, right? It wouldn't make so much sense to have Caleb then go with like Silas Zane, and then it's gonna feel uneven in a way. The number 6 just feels good. And I feel like, and I did feel this at the time as well, that in order to progress the main story with Silas and Caleb, they are going to have to release the sixth love interest first and fully integrate him into the story and then move on from there, which is what was going to happen. I just thought they were going to do Caleb and Valko simultaneously, like they do Valko's chapters and then we're going to get Caleb's stuff immediately following, not that we're going to have to wait to see what's going on. I feel like they could have gone about this a lot differently and probably wouldn't have got the amount of backlash they're getting right in this moment of time if they have done something along the lines of they do a 5.5 update. So like a halfway in between update between 5.0 and 6.0. Ideally, this update would have occurred in between Silas and Caleb's birthdays in May when we didn't have a lot going on per se. Like there wasn't a birthday event. There wasn't anything major happening in the game per se. They could have done Valko's update as a 5.5 release of like, oh, hey, we have the kitchen update ready and we have Valko. And then after Caleb's birthday, and maybe probably after Raphael's 4th myth, probably July, August, before Zane's birthday in September, they then could have dropped the full 6.0 release with the next installment of main story. Because again, they create the schedule. No one, maybe Paper Games, because that's the company above them, is telling them like you have to do like a 2 time a year. You can't do any other major updates more than that. My knowledge, they're the ones creating the schedule, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're also a $1 billion company, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. So if they want to do multiple major updates in a year, they could do that. And I swear to God, if this whole thing is a marketing ploy of like, oh, we're going to cancel Valko, hashtag just kidding, we're not going to cancel Valko, haha, did you fall for it? I swear. They're already losing fans, but they're going to lose more fans if they do bait and switch ×2 moment. They're going to lose so many more people. My philosophy when playing any game, really, not just Love and Deepspace, but any game, especially a live service game, is I always try to think of it from a positive perspective, right? I try to look at it from the lens of, okay, they have a plan, right? They have a plan in place. They're going to do XYZ for X, A, B, C reason, right? Or at least that's what my brain is trying to logic itself into. Like, for example, when we thought in 2R yesterday, when it was a Raphael Xavier update, I was thinking, okay, so the next main story update that we're going to get, whether it be 6 months from now or not, is going to be Caleb, and if there's a sixth love interest focus. And then when they announced Valko, I'm like, okay, so it's probably going to be Valko focused in order to move on with Caleb and Silas's story arcs. They probably have to do these story arcs with Valko first and then circle back to Silas and Caleb. I'm not a game dev myself, but I've played a lot of games and I've seen the development cycle work of if you want to implement something as big as this is not an overnight feat. This is something that you are taking months to maybe years to fully plan out. And this is technically like a story narrative game. So if you know way back when that like, oh yeah, there's going to be a sixth love interest, then you're probably planning that in your story. And then you have to craft and meticulate around like, okay, so we want this plot point to occur. So we need XYZ to happen first in order for this plot point to happen. So Valko being added is not an overnight thing. It does feel like some players, not all of them, it's not just Chinese players, I feel like some, generally speaking, are feeling and thinking that like this was just an overnight decision. No. To do mocap and voice acting, that takes so much time on itself, not even including like the writing, the scripting, all of the other things that go into it, especially when you're making a fully fleshed out character in the way that we have seen lads do before, with how detailed everything is about the 5 LIs and how it's all connected to their backstory and their lore and their symbolism and motifs. If Inful can do one thing right, the developing team for Love and Deepspace, they know how to do character development. They're just really, really good with it. It's very impressive, which again, they have the money, they have a massive team for it. So I always try to look at things with a positive perspective of like, okay, so there's definitely a reason why they're doing this thing. And while I try to maintain a positive mindset, I do also at the same time can see the negatives of a game. Caleb and Silas are still missing content. They're still missing their second Bond stories. We're still missing anecdotes. They've completely stopped giving the fall for you moments, like those audio only cards beyond secret times. Like they completely stopped giving those. I can understand the frustration with when Silas and Caleb are your mains. They're my mains, but like I'm still catching up on like all of the content I've missed since I played starting a year ago. I can understand that players of color, so not me, because I'm not that, are frustrated with the lighting options and how certain lighting effects, especially within Kindled and main story, can completely wash out their darker skinned MC, which is a problem. That's an issue. That is a concrete issue. Doesn't affect everybody, but that is an issue. There's issues with the quality of life. There really isn't a permanent, decent way to farm diamonds once you exhaust all of unicorns and abyssal chaos. There really isn't anything. Those things I can get behind. It's when we start going more into, of course, like bashing and like being phobic in any way is when like I draw the line. But also I want to give the developing team the benefit of the doubt of when it comes to main story stuff, when it comes to releasing a love interest, of, oh, there's probably a reason why they had to do it in this order. I just don't agree with how they went about it, per se, after taking time to think about it and seeing other people talk about it as well. I feel like they could have gone about this in a whole different way. I feel like we didn't really need a 6.0 release. We could have gotten a 5.5 earlier in the year to then set up for a more larger 6.0 release, which also I will say as a side note, because Wedding Banner last year was the 6.0 release among other things. And we just had this most recent multi-banner, Once Upon a Frame, which was also a collaboration for a film festival in China, I believe. If I can extrapolate anything from playing Overwatch and Dead by Daylight, collabs and planning collabs take so much effort to do, because you also have to think about like you're also abiding by the collaborator's schedule. If it's a film festival, then it's happening on a very specific date. And if you want to have your cards drop on or around that date, then you kind of have to abide by that. So it wouldn't have made sense, logically in my brain, to have two multi-banners back to back. So that's why for this 6.0 release, it feels very underwhelming in comparison to Anniversary in late December, early January, where we got Throne of Arrows along with the home system. So there was a lot of things going on at once, whereas this one is just Valko's release in the kitchen. There is no multi-banner because we just had one. So I feel like they could have just gone about this a lot differently. They could have looked at their schedule and be like, okay, we don't, because of all these things that are lining up against our favor, we could just do a mini patch update for a 5.5 release, then do a larger 6.0 later in the summer when we actually have content to give to the players. Ultimately, I am disappointed of how all of this has transpired, And I don't necessarily want to put blame on the Chinese players who did speak out against Valko and were doing a lot of parasocial things too that like are just problematic regardless of fandom. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is Infold's fault. Because again, they are the company. They have a gajillion, trillion, bazillion dollars. They could set their own schedule. They can do effectively whatever they choose. I feel like people wouldn't have been as upset if they just went about things in a different manner, if they moved a little differently. I still want to see where this is going to go, but I just feel bad. Like thinking of all of the developers and the actors they've gotten to play, to build him as a character is all going to waste now. It's going to become dead content. It's going to become like lost media, which is really, really sad and unfortunate. I hope Infold will maybe reconsider adding him at a later date once they've addressed the concerns with Caleb and Silas's missing content, but I'm not entirely sure. I know for me personally, I feel the trust with company in like loose quotes has dwindled a lot, because now I feel less inclined to kind of, you know, talk in the way I did before of like, well, maybe this is all purposeful. Maybe there's a reason behind this. I don't feel that need as strongly to be like, let me defend them and their choices in certain instances, not all of them. But now I'm just like, I don't trust it. I still owe my community a Love and Deepspace stream after I'm officially set up and everything, so we'll still go through with that. I'm not sure what we will do or when we will do it, but that is still in the plans because, again, that was part of a subathon redeem, so I still do fully intend to complete that redeem. I do still fully intend on finishing out the other cards that I've gotten in the past because I still want to read those, and especially as I continue to refine my Love and Deepspace tarot deck, which I will post a video about that at some point, but I do feel very upset by everything. I'm very disappointed with how it all transpired. And everyone, of course, is entitled to their own opinion on how they feel about Valko and things like that. But again, resorting to phobic comments, parasocial in any way is just that's just weird. Like let's not do that. There are ways to let the company know about your feelings about Valko's release. I have sent emails to both of their customer support lines. I have signed a couple petitions online as well. I will link those petitions in the description of this video, but I just really wanted to hop on and kind of chat about it because I had so many thoughts about it that I just wouldn't do justice in a 10-minute TikTok. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on the game. I did see a lot of people in the Discord server because the Discord server is currently a war zone. I would not want to be one of their moderators right now. I've seen a lot of people talking about uninstalling the game, not buying anything from the game now, boycotting, etc. I don't know if I'll go to the level of fully deleting, uninstalling the game, but I'm definitely going to be considering more wisely where I do spend my money. I would be interested to know, how are you taking this news? What are you doing to either help cope with it or to affect change? Because we as the global player base do have a lot of power, whether or not we realize it, to hopefully enact change, but who knows, we might not see change happen, but I'm just curious and want to have a discussion about that in the comments. A short addendum for the end of this video. So there's a couple of comments on my TikTok regarding some of the promo material with Valko that seem to be a bigger issue to Chinese players specifically because of some of the cultural and societal things in their culture. And specifically the thing that comes to mind is the number 731. I could be getting the numbers wrong, which apparently it relates back to World War II between the Chinese and Japanese. And using that number is kind of considered taboo, kind of in the same light as using a swastika is not a good thing to use, or using something that kind of looks like a swastika is kind of the same vein from my understanding of things. Apparently somewhere in Valko's promo material they used those numbers, and that was a big issue and a big red flag. To me, it calls into question, why would an Infold a Chinese company making a Chinese game based off some or a lot of Chinese culture and societal things are using those numbers if they know they're taboo? Like, where's the logic? Where's the brain cell? That's my question. I wonder if this could also just be easily rectified if they had just said, hey, we understand this is an issue. We're sorry that this made it through. We're going to delay Valko's release to properly address those issues and then release him at a later date. And again, this could just be one facet of why they decided to just completely can Valko's release. I also simultaneously worry that if Valko is now completely off the table, this means they're going to have to rewrite the main story, because if they were intending for months to years for Valko to be included into the main story and that his part is going to be integral to all the things now upcoming, they have to now rewrite the main story, which is now going to delay the main story updates of Caleb and Silas that people are citing have also been reasons for Valko getting canceled. So we didn't effectively get a faster release of the main story updates everybody wants. It's now just going to be further delayed. So, and we're also not going to be getting the story as originally intended. I want to see writers and creatives complete the story as they have intended it to be completed. And by Valko now being nixed, we are now effectively not getting the story that was originally going to be told. And it now makes me wonder, what is the point of reading anything else from main story after 2 Hour Yesterday if this is no longer the story they intended to tell? I really suck at doing outros to videos, so if you've made it this far, just let me know who your favorite love interest is. And why would they eat chocolate? What's their purpose for eating chocolate? I don't know. Tell me your favorite love interest and why. And you can put Valko if you want to. I like hearing why people choose their mains. It's very fascinating to see why people choose different ones. I will see you all around after I unpack. You can go follow me on Twitch. That's where I'll be streaming all of my stuff. I will see you all eventually in the future. Let's hopefully, maybe, in theory, bring Valko back. But Valko will always be living in my heart, and I will continue to buy fan art of him. I'll see you all around.